G'day mate and welcome to Ricos Island with me, Jetty. Today we're going to be looking through Ricos Island. Ricos Island. Now, before we get into the depths of Ricos Island, I need to give you some background. I need to give you some history. Rico's been super active on my Discord server, answering questions, providing blueprints, basically providing a helpful source of advice on our Discord server when it comes to capital industry, and that's always good to see. It's always good to have more ideas, more input when people have questions. On top of that, he has been playing on this particular map for quite some time and been providing screenshots. I wanted to have a look, so I actually asked him for a copy of his save so we could have a little look, because there's been a couple of things that have been interesting about this particular map. But before we get to that, I do want to ask a couple of things. One, did you guess what the map is? I don't think you did, because it's very, very square. He has played on both Golden Peak and the beach previously, but in update 1 he wanted to build something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, hence he went for New Haven. Yeah, this is the starter map. I couldn't pick it myself. In fact, we're going to have Jetty apply some overlays with the original map, and then also if I just bring up the resource overlay, and hopefully Jetty can line that up and we can get a good comparison. But yes, this is the New Haven map, which I didn't pick, not for the life. The other thing I need to ask, not for my sake at all, but for Rico's sake, I need to ask, can we borrow a like? Can we just borrow a like? Mainly for Rico's sake. Rico wants to borrow your like. If you're not happy with Rico's Island Tour, you didn't enjoy it, I'll tell you what, Rico will give you a like back this time. All right, with that out of the way, let's have a quick look-see around. I think it should be pretty fitting that we start down here at the docks. Now, I do need to mention that Rico hasn't reached 100% sustainability. He's on his way, but that wasn't required for me to look at his island. I want to look at his island because of the nuclear reactors he keeps rebuilding, each time making them a little bit more symmetrical, a little bit more wonderful and pleasing to the eye, and each time he does it, he seems to get himself one step closer to killing the island because he takes the power offline. But yes, we're going to start down here at the docks. We are going to look at the contracts really quickly. He is on all the contracts. He is doing vehicle parts for crude oil, also service for gold ore. I should summarize, it's gold ore because he's also doing gold for uranium, also construction parts for limestone, because nobody's got a choice on that. That is the only limestone available via contracts. He has cement for coal, he has slag for limestone, slag for sour water, because it's the only way to get rid of your slag. Also diesel for gold again. Very, very happy with his gold here. Servers for iron ore, lab equipment for copper ore, and then he has consumer electronics for quartz. So that is his contract choices. As for sustainability, he's in the process of removing the last of the resources of the island. That's literally all he's doing. Once they're gone, he's planning to be 100% sustainable. And if we go check the captain's office, we can see that he's doing water saver number 1, also the maintenance reducer, which is a no-brainer, but he has turned off recycling increase, mainly because he wants to burn through the resources as fast as he possibly can. So again, staying back at the docks, we can see that the docks are very nice, very neat. I do love the grass on the inside with the slag on the outside. Very, very, very aesthetic. Yes, first ship is gonna be the crude oil for vehicle parts. Second ship is gonna be a rock import. You're gonna need to bring in rock in any island, mainly because you need to, if we just search up rock is always going to be needed to make hydrogen fluoride, okay? Always going to be needed to make hydrogen fluoride. It is a must. It's something you cannot avoid. So you're going to need to import some sort of rock no matter what. This is why there's an infinite rock island. Yeah, infinite rock island out on the world map. Then we have gold for uranium, which is, we're exporting gold to bring in uranium, yes. And then we have exporting diesel to bring in gold. Yeah, conveniently they're right beside one another. Also going to point out, whilst we're right here, this is the uranium processing for the whole island. There are several nuclear reactors we need to look at, but this is the only uranium processing for the whole island. All right, on to the second dock. And you're going to find a lot of the map is, well, parts of the map are inspired by my previous playthroughs. We're going to see a couple of my blueprints. Also going to see some of my modified blueprints and some things that I've done, not only in this current update, but also in the previous update when Capital Industry first released into early access. There's a number of things that we're going to notice that you may have seen in previous playthroughs. All right, over here we have laptops for quartz, and we have cement for coal, which I do like the fact that he's bringing in limestone right here. And then as the limestone's right here, as this fuel gas, on the docks, yeah, he is choosing to, well, process the cement right here to load it on the neighboring ship. It's a little bit of brilliance. I like it. I do like it. I do like it. Also, the quartz he's processing directly on site into sand because why not? Why not? It doesn't compress or expand belt density wise by converting it on site. So it just means that all the manufacturing is done right here on the docks. There is some room on the docks, but then again, he's also put in the wonderful roads, and I do like the roads. If we just click on a random truck and turn on the navigation overlay, I think this is maybe a question for the devs. The truck is saying I can drive around in here, but the problem is the truck can't get in there to drive around in there. So I feel like this should be a lighter green. Like, you know, if I had access, I could get in and drive around in there, but I'm also willing to bet that highlighting the navigation overlay might take longer because I'd have to do that double check. You know, can I actually access that part? Not can I drive around in here? Should I be able to get around in here? But I do love the fact he's put in all the little roads. I also should mention that now he's put in all little roads and all the barriers which would have taken hours and hours and hours to build, mainly because they're one tile at a time. Also, they're 10 concrete slabs at a time. Yeah, only 0.4 uni, but after you add up an awful lot of them, they get very expensive very quickly. Yeah. Okay, next ship is gonna be, this is gonna be science for copper. Really? 360 for two, for what? Oh, he's got the ratio slightly wrong. This is why this one's empty. Because it's 366. And you only store 360. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, so we have copper for Science 2 here on this side. Nope, this one. We have slag for sour water. Slag for sour water I want to stop and mention because this is one I definitely know about. The sour water contract is 880 sour water for 1,813 slag. If I click on one of these things, we can see he's loading 1,799 slag for 873 sour water. And the reason being is it's missing a module. The reason it's missing a module is this currently needs 270 diesel to do a round trip. If I put that in there, it now needs 300 diesel to do a round trip. And contract-wise, I'm now going to bring back 880 sour water. But without that, I bring back 873 sour water. You need to ask yourself, is 30 extra diesel worth 7 sour water? The same would apply to this particular contract here, this lab equipment. You know, you're going to ship off 6 extra lab equipment 2 in one of these modules. One of these modules? Yeah, this one. So this would be a extra lab equipment 2, and you would bring back 30 copper ore in this section here. Yeah, just not worth it. I would be removing that personally and saving myself 30 diesel each round trip. Yeah, okay. Next one is going to be servers for iron ore, and then finally we have servers for gold. Now, one thing I do want to mention with the contracts very quickly is all these ones that have these little diamonds here, you can hover over the diamonds to get an estimated cost of how things are going to go. You know, for vehicle parts, it's going to be some iron, some steel, some copper, all that sort of stuff. Now, it is an estimate because obviously vehicle parts require mechanical parts, and mechanical parts you can make either from iron or from steel. So there are some choices in here. Don't also forget that depending on whether you're using a blast furnace, Mark 1, Mark 2, or an arc furnace, there may be a coal cost or a graphite cost. Now, there's a chance you can get the graphite just from recycling CO2. There's also a chance that you might be converting coal into, well, graphite. So, you know, the cost is an estimate. But we might notice we have servers right here which require 68 gold. Plus he has gold for uranium ore. Plus he is bringing in gold for some diesel. And then we have servers here that require another 68 gold. Yeah, there's a certain laptops require another 49 gold. He's going to go through some gold, so we're going to cover that in just a second. First thing we're going to stop at is the oil build. Now the oil build is, well, it's my build. It's my build. It's my modified build. Rico actually modified it, I think around about the same time I did. I have 2 playthroughs. I have the Crater playthrough, which you may have seen. If not, I'll link it up in the top right-hand corner. It's the one I've been playing on the Crater map. It's the island that's upside down. It's a big hole in the ground rather than a big mountain in the middle. Yeah, it's a different style of playthrough. On top of that, I actually have a second playthrough I'm doing on my live streams. I've been streaming Captain Mystery up there once since technically before it was released by now, but I've been streaming that on the Insulus Mortis map, the one that looks like the giant skull and crossbones. And on that particular island, I went and built a double-sized oil build because I needed a double-sized oil build. And then I believe Rico, because my blueprints were all modular, he, well, took my modular blueprints and modulated them out to also make it double in size. So this is, well, my oil build, just modified slightly. So it is double the size, so rather having 4 of the distilleries, well, 4 sets of distilleries, he's got 8. Therefore, sour water's been doubled, therefore fertilizer 1's been doubled, therefore fertilizer 2's been doubled. He doubled the slag, which I guess is probably going to be required. And this is something I probably wouldn't do, because I don't think it would be required, but maybe it would be. On top of that, he has doubled the cracking all the way through. In my original blueprint, I had well, what I thought was too many hydrogen reformers, and then he's doubled it. Yeah, turns out he is making an awful lot of hydrogen, so much hydrogen he's actually burning it off here, there, and everywhere. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. Over the backside, we have the outputs. So we have fertilizer 1, 2, slag, limestone in, sulfur out, diesel, fuel gas, and then hydrogen. And then he's also doubled rubber, increased plastic by 50%, and made acid on site. Well, acid is part of the oil refinery. That's probably a better way of putting it. Now, I've had many people ask me, why did I never? JD, why did you have the audacity of not putting acid in your original oil build? And the answer was quite simple. 9 times out of 10, you have scrubbing all over the map. And scrubbing all over the map provides, where are we? Exhaust scrubbers. Exhaust scrubbers. These are going to be generally all over your map, wherever you're collecting exhaust, and they're going to provide little bits of sulfur. And that little bit of sulfur needs to be put somewhere. Normally, it will get put right here into the loose storage that's attached to your oil build, which means your oil build could use the sulfur if it needs it, or, you know, turn into slag. Now, that's a passive input. That's like anything extra goes in there. Otherwise, it gets absorbed and sucked into places to make acid. Now, if you happen to have centralized all your exhaust scrubbing, then you would definitely, very much have grounds to, well, have all your acid dealt with on one location. And that's going to be a main theme we're going to have going forward. Rico has centralized everything. He's also used a balancer or 2, but we're going to get to that in just a minute. All right, next we're going to have that is centralized, which shocked the hell out of me, is the hydrogen fluoride. The hydrogen fluoride to brush your teeth with. Also, it's used for anesthetics. It's technically also made for used for uranium, but he's not using it. He's not using it all. So this build right here, which means rock is coming, I guess, directly from the ships into here. Also, the acid's sort of here, so it sort of makes sense. Comes to here to make hydrogen fluoride. In saying that, that pipe, yeah, that's all highlighted. It comes over to here to where medical is. Yeah, it's a bit of a run to get to medical, but I guess something had to make the trip, so he chose to make the hydrogen fluoride make a trip. And again, we might see that, yes, he's gone all out. He's gone all out with trees being planted, made sure that there were paths for the trucks to get in, because they might need to put sulfur in here, or fill up the bucket with slag, probably never, but also possibly fill up the bucket with rock to feed, well, the JD concrete build. Yeah, this is my concrete build, just modified to go up to, well, the stage 3 concrete mixers, which I always said you just needed to, you know, upgrade to crushers, and you basically had to change the back end, and that's what it was always designed to do. You know, change the back end, and then away you go. You now have tier 3 concrete. Yeah. So this is again another tiny little JD build, just slid into the middle, right beside the oil refinery of all places. Next up, we're gonna have well, smelting. Now, I'm going to not go into any depth here. We have steel, we have iron, we have copper, we have glass, and we have gold. All the gold. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Each one of these makes 9 gold apiece, which equals a lot of gold. An awful lot of gold. Yeah, he's producing an awful lot of gold, in case you were curious. Up the back, we have our poly smelting to make poly to, you know, do all the other things that he's going to need to do. with the amount of gold he's making going into Electronics 3, it's going to be an awful lot of Electronics 3. But then I want to get to this part. I want to get to his nuclear reactors, because these are fast-burning reactors, which are, the late game ones. They're very, very wonderful. They're also very, very cheap to run. You might notice that this does not have automatic regulation turned on. They're running flat out. In saying that, they're putting out super steam into a drive shaft, into a whole bunch of generators, and then also putting the high steam that comes from the super steam turbines into the next set of generators, and then the low pressure steam into the next set of generators to also make more mechanical force to run the generators that are doing nothing. He doesn't need the power. This whole build does nothing. Technically this one's doing something. Oh, they're spinning. Look at them. They're spinning. They're going. This is actually entirely wasting all this energy. 100%. He's got it running flat out because he can. Because these are so cheap to run in late game, he's decided just to keep them running. You might also notice that the build is a little bit odd, a little bit unique in a wonderful, unique way. He has the super turbines here. Then he brings the pipe of all the high pressure steam over the middle, runs it down here along the ground, and then runs it out to here. Mechanically it makes sense. Mechanically it works, but you just ask, why are these pipes here? What are these pipes doing? Or why are they so special? Also, right at the end, he's collecting all the depleted steam in one solid pipe, which then goes through all the thermal desaliners to create enough water to run the build. Also technically creates a little bit of extra water, which means we're not going to go into this mess too much, but we have some balances, just one balancer or two into another balancer or two to prioritize things, the places they need to go to put the excess water that way. But then should there be too much excess water, the water comes this way, and when the water comes this way, these reactors literally dump clean water that they've just produced into the sea. These ones are for the brine. This is the overflow for, oopsie, I made too much clean water from my nuclear reactor. Yeah. Second nuclear reactor is exactly the same. These two are for making power. These two are not for making power. These two are actually for making water. And again, we're going to come in here and we're going to see that, technically they're running. These are power production level 2. So they sort of run. They sort of do something. Not really. They're trying their hardest. But again, he's collecting the super precious, he's collecting the high pressure steam from the super turbines, and it comes with a balancer. Again, we're going to find he is a big fan of the wonderful balancer. And they output into, these two pipes which go to thermal storage. Now, I've never found a use for thermal storage, mainly because of the 20% heat loss. When you put the high pressure steam in, you then need to apply, you get 4,800 heat, but then you need to apply 6,000 of that stored heat to get the high pressure steam back out. But he's putting the steam into thermal storage. It does give him a backup, it does give him a buffer. Again, I'm sort of wondering why there's not a balancer here to go directly to this output, because all these things are doing is providing a backup, a balance, a storage system to put high pressure steam to this pipe, because this pipe runs all the way around the island. First stops at the oil refinery. Yeah, the whole oil refinery is running off high pressure steam, and then picks up again at that pipe and runs to here. There we go. No, that's the wrong pipe. There. Okay, runs off to there, at which point it comes down to these desalinators. These desalinators create all the water to feed all the farms and all the people. Yeah. So, yes, you may ask, where's his power coming from? 9 times out of 10 it's coming from items like this, which is waste power. Yeah, so back to the oil build. Remember how I said there was a lot of hydrogen reformers to convert a lot of fuel gas into a lot of hydrogen? Well, these burn off hydrogen. That's all they do. These also technically burn off hydrogen. Yeah, but he has so much extra hydrogen, he's running into a couple of boilers to make steam so he can burn off the hydrogen faster, so he can run some high pressure turbines to run some generators. And you're going to find these everywhere. He has a lot of waste, an awful lot of waste on this island, awful lot of opulence. Yes, let's go with opulence. All right. As for the fast-burning reactors, You may ask, Jetty, how do they keep their fuel? First off, they keep their fuel by running the pipes underground. Well, that seems like a recipe for disaster. You accidentally click the wrong button, and you're going to find you no longer have fuel for, well, your reactors, which means your whole island is probably 5 minutes away from collapse. But they get their fuel from here. Now, over here we have nuclear processing plants converting our spent fuel back into core fuel. We also have our enrichment plants converting our enriched blanket fuel back into normal blanket fuel with some core fuel. And then we have, well, the input for the blanket fuel, because you need to make some blanket fuel. You're going to be short on blanket fuel. That is the one type of fuel you need to make. So he has 3 of these guys, 3 of the chem plants too, making blanket fuel from yellow cake. Yeah, that is the yellow cake for the whole island. Fed off, remember that crusher back there, all the way back there, that was making enriched uranium, crushing up the uranium. That goes onto this pipe, from the docks, on this pipe, over to here, to be processed into yellow cake, to be turned into blanket fuel. And he's using about 12 uranium per month. Yup. That's keeping the whole island running. Now, I did mention once again his love for balances, so the nuclear reprocessing plants are going to put out fission products, which you need to put somewhere. He's running them down this little belt, and then running through them, oh, guess what? A balancer. He loves his balances. He loves his priority output in his balances, which means that the fuel goes this way first. And then the second one, make sure the fuel goes in here, and the third one, make sure the fuel goes in here. And we can see full, not full, which means he can have an alert just on, the next one on the list. Is like, if this is full, that's okay, we've got the next one to go to. If this is not full, everything is fine and everything is peachy. So he uses an awful lot of balances. One mistake he has made, I like pointing out places where people could learn, is you're going to find that we have six fission products right here. If I was to delete that belt, come on, delete faster. No, it passed through. There's another one right around the corner. Okay, and then I replaced it with a tier 1 belt. Pause. Cool. Unpause. We're going to find that this holds 2 on it, rather than the 6 of the tier 3. Because the tier 1 belts move less, they also compress the items less. Which means, if we click on this and we click on pollution, and we turn off all the ones we don't care about, we'll see radiation. His radiation is probably a lot higher than he might expect. And that is purely because of, well, the fission products sitting on these belts. You cannot remove it entirely, and it's definitely not affecting the population. But this is like the baseline. This is the baseline for the amount of fuel he has sitting on the belts, doing nothing. If he went through and replaced each one of these with, well, a tier 1 belt, he would have an awful lot less volatile products sitting on belts. But again, this is the nuclear processing. They all have a single shared output belt, which is going to bring out all of the retired waste over here, run it through a couple of shredders, turn it into recyclables, and it goes off the recycling plant. On top of that, we have another reactor. Now, this reactor is a little bit of a different reactor. It's a little bit different reactor to the previous reactors, as this produces a whole lot of super steam. And that super steam does 2 things. One, it runs over here and makes a whole lot of water. Yes, because it's a water-heavy build. The other thing it does, it runs through all these pipes into this mess, which we need to stop and talk about. Because chemistry has a very complicated recipe tree, but that means there are definitely opportunities to do things with said recipe tree. In here, we're doing a couple of things. We have you making high pressure steam. Don't forget, this makes super pressure steam. So now we have super, plus we have high steam. You process sour water into ammonia. You're a sour water stripper. And you guys take water and super steam and turn it to hydrogen, oxygen, and depleted steam. Okay, so we have hydrogen, oxygen, depleted steam, way to remove sour water, and also high pressure steam, all in this little belt. Over here, we have our next section of our ingredients, which is going to take the depleted steam and turn it back into water, because we need to replace that water somehow. On top of that, we have these guys, which turn fuel gas into diesel with the consumption of oxygen. So we can take the oxygen from this side of our formula and bring it over here and delete it, basically. Also going to give us a little bit more water, which is obviously going to go back into the system. But now we have fuel gas. Fuel gas is a new item that we need to find. And then it comes into this part of the build. Now, this part of the build is where things get a little bit interesting. So over here, he's taking some diesel, adding some high pressure steam from the boilers from earlier, the electric boilers, and turn that into a naphtha and sour water. And obviously the sour water is going to go to the sour water stripper. And then he's taking the naphtha, adding the hydrogen from the hydrogen reformers, to turn that into diesel and then fuel gas. And then he's taking that diesel and turning that into naphtha, and then taking the naphtha and turning it into diesel, and then diesel into naphtha. And you see where we're going with this? What does this get him? 1, it gets him a little bit of fuel gas. 2, it gets him a little bit of sour water. 3, it gets him to spend a whole lot of power and a whole lot of people with a decent amount of maintenance. Not a lot of maintenance, just a little bit of maintenance, but it also gives him fuel gas to create free diesel. So every 6 pairs of these will let you run one of these non-stop. On top of that, every 6 pairs of these is getting you enough sour water to run one of these non-stop, which is going to give you ammonia and sulfur. So from this little build here, he gets free diesel with free sulfur and ammonia. It does cost him a whole lot of people, a whole lot of maintenance, and a whole lot of power, like an awful lot of power. These are 160 kilowatts each, and there's a number of them. Yeah, it's very, very expensive. Hence the fast burning reactor. But it does give you a couple of advantages. 1, this is a very, very, very good way to make a whole lot of diesel. 2, he's got a backup. Should these guys, because we can see they're not making any diesel, which means they're not consuming any fuel gas. Should you have a situation where you have these not running, well, then he has a whole lot of fuel gas left over, which he's going to bring over here and convert into more hydrogen. A lot more hydrogen, which is going to give him a lot more carbon dioxide. Don't forget, carbon dioxide he can run into a chem plant to make graphite. Graphite is used by all the arc furnaces to, do the smelty thing. We're going to talk about those in just a minute. On top of that is using some of the hydrogen he's getting for basically free as a byproduct, to run the steam, to run the machines. And then he's taking a whole lot of the excess hydrogen and, boiling it in a whole bunch of boilers to create more power. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely a power negative situation, but when you have a couple of fast burning reactors sitting around doing nothing, who cares? Also, I believe this is the sour water from the sour water contract. Yep, that pipe's definitely going in that direction. So on top of that, he's processing his sour water here to give him, sulfur, a lot of sulfur. Also give him ammonia. Now, it runs into fertilizer Mark 1. If he is all tapped out in fertilizer Mark 1, it goes into, if it goes into fertilizer Mark 2, also the excess sulfur from both this build and this build get processed into the sulfur, into fertilizer 2. Also, if worse comes to worse, they get processed slag. But if he has no room for any more fertilizer, because, is it this one? You, the ammonia? You are the ammonia. Yeah, if this is backed up, it has nowhere to go, it's going to pop into this pipe. This pipe's going to pop all the way over here and run into these guys, which are going to split the ammonia into nitrogen and hydrogen, hence why he's processing the hydrogen right here. So he's basically turning the sour water contract, not into fertilizer, which is what most people turn it into, but turning into hydrogen to turn into free power. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different way of doing things. All right, 2 other things I want to look at is, 1 is going to be here. Here is going to be where we're doing all the toxic slurry processing for the gold smelting. And this is where I really keyed in how many balances he's using. So he's bringing in 2 pipes worth of toxic slurry. It's an awful lot of toxic slurry when the whole system's up and running to a balancer. Now, this is prioritized over here, and this means that he can very, very quickly visually look at and say, hey, if these are running, obviously, if these are not all running, we're not at max capacity for our toxic slurry. If these are all running, then, or partially running, then this is the point we're at, in the case of processing things. This is why every single time you come to one of these, they're sending all their resources in one direction, and then into the next build. But if we click on power, and then we do pause the game, that way things don't move around, and we do a quick scroll. Like, there's 1,297 U-shaped conveyor belt 3s. That's pretty common. And these numbers I find are mostly pretty common, except when I get down to pipe balancer. There is 246 pipe balancers on this map. If I click this, they are using constantly 3 megawatts worth of power. Yeah, like I said, he's got a thing for balances. Yes, this is our toxic slurry processing, which is all working very, very well, apart from, this one, which is on a break. He's on a break. He's been on a break for a little while. Over here we have scrubbing. This is why I did mention earlier that it sometimes makes sense to do your acid in one place if you can have your scrubbing in one place. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a fifth one. Five pipes worth of exhaust all popping in here, at which point it is all scrubbed. The CO2 from the exhaust scrubbers is turned into graphite on site, which then goes into a storage box and off the smelters. This is the backup graphite. This is the one where you turn coal and chlorine into graphite as well. Much more efficient recipe. Yeah, you get a lot more output from it. The catch is you're actually putting raw resources in, whereas this is just processing a waste product. He also has a backup solution over here, which is a whole lot of gas injection pumps, which will then dump the carbon dioxide with some seawater straight into the limestone deposit, because it is built on top of limestone deposit. I'm not a big fan of these, honestly, but they exist, so I guess why not? And then let's look at, okay, this is a plane reactor to do power. That is data centers. They're boring. I do want to look at very, very quickly, one, the attention to detail. Like putting in these barriers around the stanchions, I think that's what they're called, the supports. That would have taken a while. He's got more dedication than I do. I couldn't stand to do this. This would have driven me nuts. Yeah. All right. One thing I do want to draw attention to is, well, recycling. So this is a recycling drop-off point. It jumps onto a couple of recycling belts and then goes into recycling storage. And then from recycling storage, it goes into the waste sorting plant. Again, balances, again, priorities. So you can very quickly visually see these are running because there's resources here. These are running because they're being animated, but these are not running, so he has more capacity. But after the resources have gone through and they've been recycled, he splits off the broken glass straight away. Now, once the broken glass has been split off, he actually takes the copper, the iron, and the gold and runs them through compactors, which means that they take up 1/3 the amount of space. Also means that when they come out and they go through, you guessed it, a balancer, this belt, which is around about 50% full, with compacted items, if it wasn't compacted items, it was running just a plain U-shaped belt, you'd need 2 of them, because the belt would be 150% full, because they compact down to 1/3 the amount of space, which is actually genius in saying that there is a belt that's 50% full of just glass. So maybe he'd be fine with 2 belts and just have to sort it out the other end. But I do like this. I do like running the multiple compactors. And don't forget the recycling efficiency is only at 35% currently because, well, he's not running the recycling edict because he's still trying to burn through materials. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to look through this. This is going to be a bit of a quick round because we're going to talk about this. This is going to be construction parts 1, 2, 3, 4, boring. This is going to be vehicle parts 1, 2, and 3, along with science number 2, both the contracts. We have electronics, we have mechanical parts, we have PCBs for electronics too. We have solar. Don't know why solar's here. He does have some solar panels on the map, but yep. We then have servers, awful lot of servers being made for the contracts. We then have an awful lot of electronics 3. Awful lot of laptops for, all the contracts as well. We also have our white goods and our rocking chairs. And then he has this. This is how he's making all the microchips to make all the electronics. And this is an inline system. Now, I have attempted to build one of these previously, and I didn't think I could get the belts in and around in this shape. I think it's because he's using microchip machine Mark IIs. I think the Mark 1s have a slightly different hitbox, and therefore this particular build doesn't work. But once you get to the Mark II, I believe they're slightly shorter. You can run the belts over the top. But this is doing, the first part, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And it processes straight through. I do like this little build. I really, really do. I think it's a wonderful little build. There's no way I could build this by hand, at least the first time around. It does mean it's also a very blueprintable. You want an extra line, you just copy the back row, paste it on the end, and it's instantly expanded. Providing you chop down the trees that you've left in the way, Rico. You've left the trees in the way. All right. Over here we have poop processing for the people. Only thing I want to mention here is the compost. The compost from the people gets mixed with the biomass from the people, which then heads out this way to, join in with a bit more biomass and other things, and then joins the food belt. We need to talk about food for just a second. Yes. Also, can somebody say balances? It's doing a thing. Don't question what it's doing. It's doing a thing. All right. Food. Now, he has taken a food build that I'm pretty sure I pioneered in Camper Mystery in the original early access, where I ran, it's probably easiest at this end, I ran fertilizer into the farms, and then I ran water over the top, and then I ran the flat belt and the U-shaped belt, which very, very neat, like very, very neat, very, very compact. There was a catch. A small catch is I ran into a throughput issue with a single belt. This is why you may find my updated tileable farm blueprint now has, 3 belts down the middle and a whole lot of balances, so I don't have this issue. But Rico has done a smarter thing, possibly, than I did, where he has all the vegetables on one set of farms and all the fruit on the other set of farms. So if they back up, it doesn't matter. They're on separate belts. Yes, and then he's brought the food into, the food build. Now, this is something, again, I did in the original early access build. I made a great food build. A great food build that did almost all the food things as best as it possibly could by, putting everything on a sushi belt and splitting it out afterwards. So we have the sushi belt of all the random food comes in. Again, good old balancer. Which one he's filtering off? Well, Poppy. No, it's a bad example because Poppy's not over there. He's filtering off potato. Potato goes into here. Potato goes off to the town. Okay. After potato's gone off to the town, if there's excess potato, it goes back onto the sushi belt. Like, why? You filtered it off. That was job done. Why do you put... Okay, whatever. We'll come back. Next up is corn. Again, goes off the town, and then the excess is dumped back on. Next up, we have potato again. This one's going a different way. That's going up to do snackaroos. We'll come back to that in a second. This is going to be vegetables. Vegetables exit here, and they go off to the town. Next up, we have wheat. Wheat comes over here. It gets turned into a whole lot of flour, and the flour disappears under there. On top of that, there is also going to be a byproduct being the animal feed. Where does the animal feed go? Onto the food belt. Yep, confused yet? I was too. All right, right here we have bread. Obviously the flour's right here. We might as well make the bread right here. Okay, good so far. Next up we have corn, which we've already pulled off once. We're now pulling off a second time. This makes corn mash. Corn mash, if you remember, goes into ethanol. Great, so that's corn into corn mash. Also, it's going to give us some animal feed. The animal feed goes back onto the belt. We then have canola. Canola comes off. It goes into, making cooking oil, but also goes back on. I'm like, but canola can only be turned into cooking oil. Why is it going back on? I don't understand why it's going back on. We need to continue. All right, we then have wheat, corn, and potato. 3 things at once, which are being pulled off and turned into animal feed. What are we doing in the animal feed? We're putting it straight back on. What are we doing in the animal feed then? We're splitting it straight back out. That fills up our buckets to make sure the chickens are well fed, and then the excess gets put straight back on. Yep. All right, after we go through the animals, we take the products from the animals, being the chicken. Chicken's coming here. That gives us meat. He's making the salt on site and makes the meat right here, and also has a little bit of meat trimmings, which then go through, you guessed it, another balancer, to be turned to sausages. So that's our sausage production. Also, that is the end of our flour belt. No, actually, there's one more item for flour. Finally, we get into sugarcane. Sugarcane comes off, here and gets turned into, sugar. Also has a byproduct of biomass, which you guessed it goes straight back onto that belt there. Straight back into the bus. Yep, into the great food sushi belt. Yeah. After that, we're going to have a cake. So this is where the flour stops. We also have sugar, cooking oil, eggs, blah, 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 blah. They come out here. They make cake. Now, we have here, which is for extra meat trimmings. Although that does not seem to be connected, considering meat trimmings were backed up. So it's this one and this one. If these ones have extra meat trimmings, for some ungodly reason, then they can get burnt off. But this one does not allow them. Okay, whatever. So that's the burn off meat trimmings. I didn't see that before. All right, and then we have sugar being pulled off again. So this was sugar just to be making cake. This is a separate sugarcane pull off to make ethanol. Yep. Ethanol is, of course, needed for medical, which is here, which has its own specialized sugar plus poppy. Yep, grown on site to do medical. But ethanol is also being used to make plastic right here. Also down here we have a burn off for making sure ethanol comes here along with any excess cooking oil gets turned to diesel. So plastic, ethanol, and all that sort of stuff are done on site. Our plastic is going to come all the way up to here, to make our snackaroos. Yes, also I believe plastic split off and run into medical. This is why it's sort of down halfway. Where? There. Yep, it's also run into here. Yep. So this gives us our medical. Also more sugar into, well, sugar cane to sugar to make more ethanol as the priority recipe. And then finally, like I said, snackaroos off just the potato recipe. He's not using the corn recipe because, well, there's probably not a lot of corn left. But it keeps dumping stuff on this belt. Over and over. So we have all the biomass, all the compost, potentially also some animal feed left, and then that all comes up to here, whereupon he's splitting off soybeans. Finally soybeans get dealt with and get turned into tofu, and then eventually all the way up here he splits off the animal feed and the biomass, runs along these belts, and then he's going to turn animal feed and biomass into compost. Yeah. Also any excess soybeans get turned into animal feed right here and get dumped straight back on, which means then he's going to take all the compost, including the poop from the people. Remember that belt we looked at earlier? Where is it? It is that belt. The poop from the people is also running the food belts, popping over here and getting turned into a whole lot of fertilizer Mark 1, which then pops into this pipe all the way back here and into this mess that we looked at earlier. Oh my God, Rico! Yes, yes. I'm not going to even attempt to explain this. I will tell you it's like an SR latch for fluids. The idea of being is when this tank gets full, the pipes get full, this does an activation where it rapidly empties these tanks down this pipe. That's the idea of how it's meant to work. We're not going to talk about any details about exactly how it works, because there's a little bit of black magic in there. But yes, this has been Ricos Island. Now, like I said, Ricos a wonderful guy. I have looked forward to his updates and his almost deaths over and over as he rebuilt nuclear reactors. I appreciate all the help he's given everybody in my Discord server that's asked for help, asked for advice, asked for suggestions of how to get themselves out of the wonderful holes. The only thing I can suggest for him is maybe ease up on the balances, maybe a little bit. And also, mate, look, I love the roads. I do love the roads. I really think it would be wonderful if we had an ability to put roads in the future. I think that would be awesome. In the meantime, Rico, I've got some bad news. I think you should rip up and or dig out this whole area and fill it with coal. Because at least then it looked like tar. Yeah. The cashiers, I know there are lots of places that doesn't line up with with the grid, and I wish you good luck in that. Yeah, good luck, Rico. I think it'll be worth it. Anyway, this has been Rico's tour, Rico's Island tour. It's a great island. He hasn't reached sustainability yet, but look, he is so close. He is literally mining out resources, being, well, the really important ones, the sand and the quartz, and the sand, and this little bit of copper here. That's really it left on the island. You know, sure. We're not going to tell him about this. We're just going to hope he never sees this. That's sand or limestone? That's sand. Yeah, that goes well out to sea. And he also has his limestone here where he's left this, I would say, intentionally, so he could put the gas injection pumps wherever he wanted. But yeah, Rico's made a wonderful island. He spent a lot of time, a lot of effort. I do love the fact that he's planted trees here, there, and everywhere. And if we go into landmarks and decorations, of course, you can plant trees wherever you want. Yeah, he's spent a lot of time and a lot of effort. Although that's definitely a scourge on the ground. That needs to be tidied up. Also, whilst I'm sitting here praising him, we should point out this problem that also needs to be cleaned up. Rico, I like it. I like the island. I do like the attention to detail and definitely the roads. Oh, roads. In case you're curious, we have slab. 4,000 concrete slabs. He is putting a strip down here. Now, you can put in the roads reasonably quickly with the copy paste tool and do a chunk at a time. The catch is you still need to put in all the corners manually. And as there are roads and as there are corners everywhere, there's going to be a lot of them. And I did say they're only 0.4 uni each and 10 concrete slabs. But if I go for uni from as close to the corner as I can get, and I scroll this way, we have 4.4 concrete slabs in the bottom right hand corner. I now have 1.4 concrete slabs. I do it again. I have 2 concrete slabs and a chunk missing in the middle. I also have 950 uni down from, we'll call it 1150 uni, 200 uni. 200 uni spent just putting in that small amount of concrete slab, well, walls, barriers to keep the trucks out. Yeah, it's a slow process, a very, very slow process, and probably something you don't want the trucks actually doing. You probably want to do it with uni, because although it's not a lot to deliver, it's going to take them an awful lot of back and forth to get those deliveries done. Although when you got 28 idle trucks, I guess that really doesn't matter. Anyway, with all that said and done, I'm going to leave this particular island here. If you enjoyed Ricos Island Tour, I do recommend you have a look at, I'll put up on the screen. This is a very well-developed base with an awful lot of belts and pipes creating walls to keep the trucks in and out of all the places they're not meant to be. I'm going to link Sherman's Island in the end screens, or also down the description. In the description, in the pinned comment, you'll find a link to Sherman's Island Tour, where he went all belts, no trucks. Also, at the same time, I will remind you that I'm also going to link down there my current Let's Play for the Crater Map. Also, if you haven't seen it, my Let's Play for, well, the Skull Island, Insula Mortis, on my secondary channel. It's where all my live stream VODs end up. I'm going to wish you guys luck and say, again, thank you for joining me. It was a blast. And again, thank you, Rico, for submitting your map for me to have a look-see at. Anyway, all said and done, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you in the very next video. All right, bye.